Jonathan Mickles with the Strategic Multifamily Investing Podcast. And today I have with me Mr. Shaka Elms. Hey, Shaka, how's it going, man?
Going good, Jonathan. How you doing yourself?
I'm doing all right. So, give a little introduction about who you are. I'll tell people, well, yeah, give a little introduction about who you are. Let's start there.
I'm Shaka Elms. I reside in Columbus, Ohio currently. My background is in construction management and project controls. Was in the military and the Army. Did some time there and did some reserve time as well. Um, that's the quick down and dirty summary of me. I mean, as far as for fun, I like to cycle sometime, ride the bike trails and stay healthy and everything else. So, when I have time, I try to actually do some investing in some apartments.
When you have time with all of that stuff, first of all, let me say thank you so much for your service. We've had, I think, one other person who was in a military vet, at least one on the podcast, and it's always a pleasure. It's very interesting that we see a lot of military vets involved in multifamily investing, and we'll maybe get a little bit involved in that. But how did we meet? So we met. Oh my gosh, it's been a
See if
couple
you
of
can remember. See if you can remember what year.
I don't remember.
Oh
I
my
don't.
goodness.
It
It was
had it had to
20.
be 19 or earlier than 19.
That was 2019. 2019.
Okay, at Michael Blank's
Yes.
multifamily investing podcast, yeah, podcast at Michael Blank's multifamily conference in Dallas, Texas, right?
Correct. Correct.
And here's Shaka, this towering figure, and everybody's Shaka, Shaka. I'm like, who is Shaka? I was just like, hey, how you doing, bro? Kept it moving, and then we kept seeing each other on a lot of the same, meetups in a lot of the virtual rooms and things of that sort. And everybody wanted to be in Shaka's, breakout group. So I don't know, you were telling jokes or something. So
Hey.
over time, we got to talking a little bit and found out you also are doing some investing in stocks. And I had just started learning some things about the stock market. And if you ever want to get Shaka going, get him talking about you won't be able to get in for a good 20 minutes. And I ain't lying. That is, you will not be able to get in for a good 20
Quit it. Quit it.
It's the truth. But you've been consistent and someone that I think has been a very positive image, I guess, in the space. And what I wanted to do is you're not quite a newbie in the space, right? You've actually done, one deal. I want to talk a little bit about that deal, how you got involved, and then kind of where you are right now. So let's talk about that. So why did you get involved in multifamily investing? Let's start there.
I would say it always been a passion of mine to personally own some apartment buildings. But
Where did where did that come from, though?
well, I would say, I'm gonna try to give you the short version. We can't be here all day. But I'll say, it came from me one wanting more. I would say that. We all have, not all of us, but I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. So basically, like, working W-2 job, and basically me, my construction background, I didn't feel all type of stuff. Basically, have my hands involved in building hospitals, banks, schools from the ground up. So basically, from the dirt all the way to tall, skyscrapers as far as building those type of buildings. But so I said, you know what, I can manage multi-million-dollar projects. I mean, me running a or managing an apartment complex shouldn't be too challenging either, to be honest with you. So I'll say, so I basically started like, okay, I need to get some money saved up so I can buy me an apartment building, because I had no education and nothing like that, far as to even have to even purchase one. So I mean, I hear people, doing flipping and wholesaling and all them things. So I said, okay, let me try to wholesale for a while. So I try to do that and still have my W-2 job, and and it was kind of challenging. I'm still managing, my construction projects, and also, doing some cold calling and everything else. So, and had a couple of leads. Nothing really kind of took off, I should say. And I was talking to one guy one day, and he just said, "Oh, why don't you try to wholesale apartment building?" I said, "Wow!" It blew my mind. One, I didn't know you could do that because you see a lot of people wholesaling single family houses. So, and I can say, in back in my
So
mind,
who was that person that said to wholesale apartment buildings? Was that one of
uh, there was I know it's Cal. I think it's Cal Mitchell. I mean, I think it's Cal Mitchell. I,
okay.
I
Is
think
he a
I'm
real
glad
estate
he mentioned.
educator? Or?
He actually a syndicator currently right now, and
Okay.
yeah, yes, he out in Phoenix actually, and I talked to him a couple of times years back too as well. He was, at that time he was getting started himself and everything else. Now he's actually kind of made a good name for himself. But he just said that to me, and I said I didn't know you can do that. So because he was, I had an actual property here locally, and you know how wholesalers are. I didn't give him the address. I say I got a deal for you or whatnot and everything else. So, but nevertheless, so I did some more research. Me back in my mind, I was already saying, I want to do apartments basically in the past. I said, okay, this might be my foot in the door. Let me try a wholesale apartment or what. So, but I started educating myself. What's the process? Who's in this space and everything else. So I started going to conferences. I think I started my journey as far as conferences like late 2018, and then of course it rolled into 2019, and I met you, of course, and in 2019 I met some other people there that I'm still connected with as well. And so, okay, basically by that summer of 2019, I said, okay, I kind of got my knowledge base, my foundation of education. I went ahead and started basically putting in LOIs, letter of intent. For those that don't know LOI mean, letter of intent to brokers and everything else. And none really got accepted, of course. And me doing everything myself. I was calling the brokers myself, looking for listing, underwriting all my deals, and see if the numbers actually work. Um, so like I said, I did all 2019, and so I was so eager, everybody getting this space. Like, I'm gonna get a deal closed. I'm gonna get a deal closed. So I didn't close the deal in 2019. So okay, well, 2020 rolling around, and well, I was okay. 2020 my year, and of course, COVID happened, and it shut down everything pretty much. I mean, so the breaks kind of. I ain't gonna lie. For me, it was like a lost year.
Yeah.
For 2020 because it just I was in survival mode and everything else. And so I said, okay, well, I said 2020 I'm gonna do a deal, and I just said it just like that. Well, by the end of 2020, opportunity came to me as far as another syndicator, a general partner came to me and said, Shaka, you want to be an LP in my deal? I said, okay. Well, I did say I was going to get in the actual apartment deal this year, and I guess this is one way to get into the deal. So I got kind of manifest that by saying I want to get into the deal in 2020. So I did join his deal as an LP, and that was a 112 unit deal in Georgia and everything. And it was Savannah, Georgia. And I know a little bit about Savannah, Georgia. I looked at the numbers, and the numbers looked actually pretty good. So, and that deal actually went full cycle. It just sold spring of this year, actually. So it was kind of ahead of schedule. And operator did good. They went ahead and stabilized the rents and everything. And at least, two and a half multiple my investment when I put in. So it's a pretty good deal. So that's
So,
basically my first deal I got into as far as, apartment buildings.
so let's pause for anybody else, I guess, who's listening and you're brand new, you're trying to figure out whatever, and you're like, what? He used a lot of terms and jargon in here. So LP stands for limited partner, right? And so as a limited partner, generally people in the LP are silent, right? They're not actively managing the deal. They just pretty much invest with their cash and receive a return, generally a preferred return, and hopefully a whole bunch of upside, in the wake of again them investing their money. And so you mentioned that you saved your money. It's very interesting because we at the time of this recording, we're in a recession, not in recession, and then there's inflation, and people say stagflation. There's something going on with them.
Right.
Whatever
Exactly.
and whomever you want to listen to, but you saved in order to be able to invest in. Can we talk a little bit more about that? I mean, what was your pattern of saving? How much did you, not how much did you ultimately sock away, but I mean, what was, if you want to share your initial investment, how did you get there? I mean, you're
Well,
working.
I would say one that particular deal, I actually used my retirement fund. So
Okay.
I really didn't. Yes, so I used my my IRA, which a lot of people don't know they can use that.
So,
So
so you have a self-directed IRA, or did you have the?
I had well, it wasn't self-directed at first. So basically, based on, of course, I'm learning things in 2019 and everything else in 2020 that you could, if you want to actually invest in apartments, yourself, you can, it's best to get a self-directed RA. So I did the steps to do that, I should say. In the beginning, I didn't know nothing about a self-directed RA. I mean, as far as lack of knowledge, lack of education, I would say.
Well, let's break that down for some other people. So you're saving your money, right? And you're putting it away into your retirement funds. You might have an IRA that comes with the company or that comes with someone else, and then they pretty much give you a list of things that you can invest in, stocks and bonds and that kind of sort. But there's this thing called a self-directed IRA where you can invest pretty much in almost anything as long as you do not receive benefit from that thing at the present. Because again, it's supposed to be a retirement account. So it's not something that you can necessarily receive
Exactly.
benefit from. And so he took the traditional IRA that he had with your company, right? Because you had it with one of your companies that you work with.
Well, that's the money I was actually saving. I was actually just putting money aside in my own. Well, it wasn't a company IRA, I
Oh,
should say.
it was your own. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So you got with
it
one of the
wasn't
brokerage houses. Okay.
exactly, exactly. So
Okay.
I basically put I said I need to do something with my money, so I just started putting money away in IRA or whatnot, and then I
Got it.
turned that
Okay.
into a self-directed or IRA.
Got it. And so people are going to say, well, where do I get a self-directed IRA? There are several different companies that are out there that will allow you to put together, a self-directed IRA that will act as your custodian, as they say. I say do your research, talk to your financial and your legal people who are around you. But there's some companies, Trust, Equity Trust, KKOS Lawyers. Um, None of these people are sponsoring me necessarily for any of this information, but I know these names keep popping up on a consistent basis. So and they oftentimes have conferences that are set aside to help educate you on how you could potentially invest your money. And I know some of them actually kind of have conferences where you can network with other people. So as they may have deals that are going on that may need equity, right? They may need money to invest. You could potentially invest some of your money that way. So if you have retirement funds and you're thinking about, wanting to invest in real estate, this is an avenue to do so. We've got a podcast for it. If you need some other resources, reach out to me. I'll make sure that I connect you again to as many resources as I possibly can so you can go get some education on this a little bit more. So in terms of your savings, right? You obviously are very disciplined in doing that. Were you socking away 5%, 10%, 20%, 30%, 50% of your money? How long did it take for you to kind of get the wad of money, as it were, that you were able to then invest?
I mean, even though I'm disciplined in saving, it wasn't really. I guess I get it from my grandmother. She back in the old school, just saving their money. That's all they was doing, saving their money. So I guess I saw her doing it, so I was just doing it. So it wasn't like I'm gonna save my money to purchase anything. It was just I was just saving. So I mean, I guess like I say, once again, that lack of education, not knowing where to need to invest your money in, I was just at least saving it, so I know I had to do something with it. So I just went ahead and put it in the IRA or whatever.
Got it.
And it wasn't a certain dollar amount. It was just every now and again I put some money in there. And I opened it up a long time ago. And it got to a point where, I mean, it was years ago. I stopped putting money in it and it just was growing by itself. So it
So
grew.
you started it early, and so that's really key. So if you're younger, go ahead and start early. And savings. I mean, you're hearing from someone who said, "I didn't have it all together. I didn't know what the plan was going to be, and that I was going to, but I just started saving the money and putting it aside because I knew that I needed to invest in something." And then he ultimately got the education and knew exactly where he wanted to go. So that's really good. So right now you are in the process of you've come out of that deal. I believe you did well in that deal. It sounds like you said 2.5 multiple of whatever money you put in. And somebody said, well, how much money is that? We're not going to talk about how much money Shaka got. But what we can do is we can deduce that most of the deals, it was a B or a C deal.
B.
Okay, so I think we've talked about on this podcast multiple times that if you have a syndication, which this is, right, and he was an LP, so he was a silent partner, and then there was a GP team, that generally you have to comply with, generally 506B or 506C is the type of offering that you'll have where the investment will sit and the management will happen. If you're 506C, that means that you are an accredited investor. You're making at least 250 a year single, and a bunch of other things. You can go and check that out as an accredited investor. But in a B, we call it the friends and family, right? And friends and family allow you to be able to kind of jump in and do whatever you need to do. Generally, and again, we're not going to get into the money thing here with Shaka. The lowest that the people will take is about $50,000. There are situations where people will allow you to invest in less than $50,000, but generally that generally is the minimum that people have. But again, if you have an investment portfolio, right, you have an IRA, you have something else that you've been working on for a long period of time, this might be an opportunity for you to be able to get in. So you got your money back, you put it back in your self-directed IRA, obviously, because you can't touch the money, right?
Correct.
You can't touch the money once you sold. So he didn't go out and get a nice little cruise and vacation. It's just sitting there, right, stacking on top of stacking so that he can move into the next one. So where are you now? So you've done your first deal. What are you trying to do now?
Well, of course, since that is my retirement money, I will be looking for somewhere else to, another deal to put that money in. And of course, it got to make sense so I can hopefully have the success as my first deal. But outside of that, about with my background, I like being involved with things. I am want to graduate, of course, being a general partner and run my own particular deal as well. So I mean, I had I guess partnered with a couple of people, and we was looking here locally in Columbus, Ohio, at some deals because one, I was going to be the boots on the ground person, and since I know the market, and so we actually put in some LOIs, letter of intent, put some offers in, and it got to a point where we even did some due diligence. So we did a DD walk on a property here, and
DD walk stands for due diligence walk. Go ahead, I got you.
So we did that basically. For people that might not know, when we basically walked every unit. We walked every unit because you kind of want to do that before you want to see what's any deferred maintenance or any big maintenance items that will cost you when you actually purchase the property. So we walked every unit and checked that out. It was a fairly new property, but it even though when you do look at some of the documents with the seller actually send you, or the broker, I should say, send you the offer memorandum. Usually, the seller might say, "Oh, my vacancy is 80% or 95% or whatever, and no vacancies or something." So when we did walk the units, we did find out it was 2 vacancies, or 3 vacancies. I think it was 3 vacancies actually. So that's kind of really adjust your numbers basically based on your underwriting and everything else. But like I was saying, we actually, like I said, we did put in some.
So we had some technical difficulties. I apologize there, Shaka. You were talking about you all were doing a due diligence walk on a couple of properties there in Columbus, Ohio. But are you only looking in Columbus, Ohio? You obviously have boots on the ground. So if anybody's interested, reach out to Shaka to be boots on the ground. You already heard he's got money in his retirement account that he can use as long as the deal makes sense. Reach out to him. But what other markets are you interested in?
Well, since I'm in Ohio, I do like I'm like to drive away from Indiana. I like Indiana and Kentucky, so I can drive just real quick bills. Of course, the major MSAs, markets here in Ohio, which is Columbus, Cincinnati. I would look in Dayton, but it depends on where in Dayton, and then you have Cleveland, of course. But I do like Georgia. I like Atlanta, Georgia, and other markets there in Georgia, and Huntsville, Alabama.
Huntsville, Alabama. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
So Alabama, Georgia, Indiana, Ohio. those are the places that he'd like to invest. So um, you just put together your website, I understand. What's the name of the website?
Well, the name of my website, how about this? It's a TBD. If I got my name on my website, it's a Metamorphosis Investments. But I'm still tweaking it. It's I'm not a perfectionist, but it's one of those things where um, I want to do something different with it. I think, but it's Metamorphosis Investment.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about some of the challenges that you're facing right now, because most recently in the last couple of months, it's been hilarious. Jacques has been really great about it. We've been joshing each other and poking at each other for making sure that we're doing the things that we say that we're going to do. And one of the things, was, from a marketing perspective and having a website. So I challenged him, and you went out and got somebody to do your website. How did you find the person to do your website?
Went on was it it wasn't Upwork. What's the other one? Was it Upwork? Yeah. No, hold on.
Was it Fiverr?
Yeah, Fiverr. I'm sorry, it's two of them. Yeah, it was Fiverr. I went to Fiverr. Yeah, I went to Upwork for something else in a couple of months ago. But yeah, it was Fiverr. I went there, and because I know back in the past I had someone did something for me in the past, but I used Upwork. But this time I went to Fiverr, and he did a good job. He did a decent job. As far as what I needed. So so I suggest anybody that might need something done quick, doing a logo or a website or anything for that matter, just go on Fiverr and type in some keywords, and some people actually will pop up, and you can and then the price is really kind of somewhat reasonable, to be honest with you. So I mean, if you need something, you don't have time. And me personally, I was one working professional, and I didn't have time to do it. I didn't have time to do my website, and I did it. I had it. I had the foundation already somewhat together for my website, but I had time to finish it. So he basically finished it for me. And Jonathan, you actually, challenged me, and I got it done. So
That you did, my friend. That you did. And congratulations on that. But what are some of the other challenges that you face right now, in trying to, be a GP and trying to get your deal done? What are some of those things that you're facing right now?
well, I say anybody that's one that still is working a full-time job, and I mean real estate. I mean, if you're looking at it as a hobby, to me, I'm not looking at it as a hobby. Some people might look at it as a hobby, so they might, only touch it every now and again. You might call a broker every blue moon, or go look at an apartment or underwrite a deal every so often. But when you actually if you're hungry for something, you need to actually put some time in. So if you put in 40 to 70 hours a week in your W-2 job, your time is kind of limited, to be honest with you, to put in, in your side hustle of trying to do some real estate investment. So that's the one challenge I had personally myself, because I got on a job, and my job was kind of had me traveling back and forth, and so I didn't have no time to devote to some of my real estate, things. So that's why I want to have partners, so they kind of somewhat back me up. They was doing their underwriting sometimes and things of that nature. So the key thing is, of course, have partners in this game, because this is not a lone wolf type of industry, because you can't get nowhere far as with this business, as far as apartment investing, without any partners. Because one keyword, limited partner, those are your partners when you're trying to take a deal down yourself. So but you do need partners in this space for sure.
Got it. So in the last couple of minutes that we have for this interview, I wanted to make sure that people know how to get in contact with you. So what's the best way for folks to get in contact with you?
I'll say the best way. I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn. I mean, there's only one Shaka Elms out there, so I'm sure you can find me. If it's it's another one, please tell me. I mean, I'm reach out to Jonathan, and he'll tell me, "Hey, Shaka, there's three of you out there somewhere, the same last name and first name, but there's only one me out there." So yeah, you can find me out there and reach out, and we can connect.
Excellent. And so, with that being the case, the last thing that I like to do is ask people, and I think you kind of just started on that a little bit, but there may be something else where you can give us the boot that's a little piece of wisdom or advice that you've learned so far in your journey. You've taken down, been a part of one deal and helping to take that deal down, and now you're looking to, be the general partner in your next deal. But what type of give us one piece of wisdom or advice that you think that others may like?
I would say educate yourself. There's so many avenues you can go down with this business. I would say educate yourself and don't rush into it. I mean, I always advise somebody. They say, "What I'm gonna do, and I don't know what to do in apartment investing." I said, "Well, let's take 6 months to a year to, go to a couple of conferences, see who's in the space, and learn some things. And once you get a feel for who's who, because everybody is not credible. I say, hey, it's sad to say they're not credible sometimes, but you kind of gain that trust and likability about certain individuals once you go to certain conferences and whatnot, and word does get around."
Interesting. Word does get around. So that says a lot. I'm gonna leave it right there. There's so much more I could add on to that, sir.
That'd be
But
part two.
part two. No, I mean it's no, but in the last couple of months it's been really good, kind of, being accountability partners on some things and making sure that, we're actually, getting the things done that we say that we're going to do so that we don't treat this as a hobby, more or less as a business. And so I want to say thank you very much for that. And thank you so much for joining us here. Again, please feel free to reach out to Shaka. Shaka Elms on LinkedIn. If you're looking for somebody who could potentially be an LP, right? If you're looking for somebody to be a GP, he likes Alabama, right? He likes
Yeah,
Georgia, and he likes Ohio. So again, thank you so much, Shaka, for coming, man.
thank you. Thanks for having me.